the more perfect we try to make that video, it's not going to be perfect. So again, just to be there, to be human, to have that moment to just be vulnerable, to laugh at yourself, to call out something in a funny way, to bring your own unique style, your own unique delivery of something into that video. That's what really I found gets the best reaction.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hi and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. My name's Rick Nuske, and it's getting to that time of year. The end of the year is already upon us. I cannot believe how quickly it has gone by, and it's just a very quick shout out to all of the My Future Business audience for spending time with me. And today I have a fantastic guest on the line. His name's Jason Linettt. How are you, Jason?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me here.
It's an absolute treat to have you as what could be my last call of the year. We're going to have a bit of a break up until 2019. So what's been going on, Jason? What's happening in your business? What's happening with you, and how have you been?
I've been doing fantastic. It's been that strategy of looking that, where we start is not often where we end up. And for those that aren't familiar with me, I'm a hypnotist. And I left a career working in nonprofit arts management about a dozen or so years ago with that mission of knowing that I can do something bigger and greater. And of all things, not many of us have as much experience with hypnosis. And my first entry point was seeing one of those comedy hypnosis shows. And while that's not necessarily the avenue that I traveled as I delved deeper into learning this, it was kind of a hobby off to the side, working with individual clients, building a bit of a motivational program that I could present at schools and businesses in the original days. And just over time, I just lived by the catchphrase, just because you're good at something doesn't mean you have to do it the rest of your life. So this opportunity to share that story, that if I've created the results in my business in a world where, let's call it out, I have to convince some people I'm not going to make them through hypnosis to cluck like a chicken, which the side note is I've never seen someone actually do that, but still, it's the myth that's out there. So to recognize, here are the barriers that I had to get out there and create a business that kind of went against the grain of what most people were doing or expecting. And to realize that many people, I'm sure in your audience, whether they are in, web design or real estate or whatever kind of service or product, to recognize that the barriers that stand in our way are only as real as we accept them to be. So it's that mission statement of helping people in those startup to scale up phases and help them to reach a much greater success with a bigger audience.
Now, I've noticed that you've spoken on such stages like TEDx. How did that come about for you?
Okay, let's get specific here. And this is a bit of a lesson in the power of outsourcing. And as I brand it now, hypnotic tenacity, this mindset that I'm going to make something happen, and let me take every appropriate ethical strategy to facilitate that. So it was where sometimes we set that big, crazy goal in our personal lives, or whether it's in our business, whether it's some sort of health goal, or maybe something we want to achieve. And for 2018, one of the goals was, I want to do a TEDx talk. I want to be there on that stage and present. And not just for the, yes, let's call it out, obvious asset that would become from my business in terms of my speaking or my trainings or spending great time with folks like you, but just one of those, hey, I've enjoyed those and I have a message that I want to share, and let me put it out there and see what happens. So to facilitate that, it was just a game of reaching out to all the different events, that there's hundreds of these events around the world, and just reaching out and finding that way to, to present that message in a way that stands out. And I say that with the irony that coming in already as a hypnotist, there's the quick anecdote that years ago, a business printing company, they made my business cards and they decided on their own, let's make the word hypnotist glossy. Yeah. And I'm looking at that with a friend going, yeah, but it says hypnotist. That's already different enough. So recognizing that it's not just let me come in and hypnotize the audience. It's instead, here's something that I've discovered. Here's a different way of looking at something, which that's really the TED platform of ideas worth sharing. So the presentation that I did was called Rethinking Rapport, that we've all, I'm sure, seen the data around, if you move like your business prospect, if you use their words, you're going to naturally create rapport. And this has unfortunately been bastardized in poor sales training over the years. It's instead the real origin of that is by tracking people who are already in rapport. And let me now step into your model of the world to better understand your needs and your concerns so I can better assist you reach this mutual outcome. And the overview in 10 seconds of the 11-minute talk was that build rapport in the direction of the positive change rather than just do it blindly. So recognize that sometimes, let's say in business, you're looking at moving the relationship forward in terms of helping them resolve an issue in their process, in their work, or some sort of challenge that someone would have. Sales is noble if we're helping to solve problems. And sometimes we ask some sort of outcome-based question, how would you like that to be different? Being the simplest of examples, and they pause, and then they start to tell you a story about how difficult it's been. So they're back to the content. They're back in that stuck state. So it's to recognize these strategies of matching, mirroring, and just getting in sync with somebody. Think of it as a propulsion system to help move towards a mutual beneficial outcome rather than just, if I sit like you, you're going to like me. There's much deeper layers to this.
Yeah, absolutely. I notice here that you talk about hypnosis and you also talk about NLP. Could you explain to us what NLP is?
So let's break the two apart for a second. So with hypnosis would often be defined, let's say, as a little bit more formal of a process of someone would come. I have a local office here in Alexandria, Virginia, where I am, where I'd work with clients. Today was an executive who was coming in with issues around public speaking. And he and I are working one-to-one specifically on that issue. Meanwhile, as well, I may be at a corporate event a few weeks from now giving a presentation, teaching goal-setting strategies, and then demonstrating one of the strategies is self-hypnosis, which demonstrates with the group. So we can brand hypnosis often as being a little bit more formal in application. The update to all of this is what's called NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which is a whole profession already with that title with a lot of technical jargon. Yet it's at its core the study of subjective experience and the modeling of human excellence. So it's this whole modeling series of techniques of tracking what makes someone successful. And in the origin story of that, the founders of that movement were Richard Bandler and John Grinder. What they were tracking 3 people originally. 2 of them happened to be well-known therapists of the day, in addition to a hypnotist by the name of Milton Erickson. So really in my communities, we often draw the lines a little bit more broadly, yet really to look at it that it all comes down to effective communication. It all comes down to state-based management. And really it comes down to that message that I put out there that to this world that we've really got much more control over our own success. We've got more control over how we feel, what our mindsets can become, that we're not quite in that stuck state. So I'd sometimes have, as I do a number of hypnosis trainings, the playful moment where a student may ask, well, what about this issue? Would you use hypnosis or NLP for that? And my answer is yes. That we can look at the process, and I'm a fan of the phrase that rather than doing hypnosis, we can also be hypnotic, that we can just step into that mindset. Let's look at a personal health example. Do I work on the strategies to lose weight, or do I shift my mindset? And consciously, I know that I'm still in process, but shift my mindset that now I'm instead eating for the body that I want, trusting that my body will catch up in time, rather than, again, shining that spotlight on the problem. Do I focus on how do I get rid of my fear of public speaking? How do I cope with my challenges with public speaking? Or do I become hypnotic and shift that language? I wonder how much more fun I can have out there as I'm sharing something I'm passionate about. Fill the mind up with what you want rather than what you don't want.
It's absolutely about the language, about the self-talk, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's where so often, there's a story in the personal change aspect that really helped me to learn this, that I'm in the office some days, and here's the day that 2 people called in, and they came in with the same issue and oddly enough, the same backstory. They were both recently retired and they wanted to lose weight. Here came the morning appointment. Now that I'm retired, it's going to be so easy to lose weight. I'm going to be able to go to the gym and cook food for myself. This is going to be the best time to do this. A couple of hours later, now that I'm retired, this is going to be impossible. I'm going to want to stick around home more frequently. We're going to be going on vacations and dining out. I don't know how I'm going to do this. And that was a process that kind of struggled until I finally just respectfully snapped and went, funny story from this morning. So it's to look at everything as an asset, which especially in business. So here was his current scenario, his current situation. And that asset could become every reason why it's impossible. Yet for someone else, every reason why I got this is going to be easy. So to look at what we start within our businesses, what do I currently have? Well, I don't have maybe a lot of testimonials as I'm just getting started. Yet here is my personal network of people that I can begin to share my services with, maybe at a reduced or even free rate, with the exchange of, and here's some assumptive language to make use of, assuming it goes as well as we both know it will. I'm going to be charging for this in the future when I launch my business, though instead of a payment, could I count on a testimonial from you that I can share, as that's what really helps to spread the awareness of how good my product or service is.
Yeah.
So by pacing into the outcome, which we're always influencing, we're always selling in some way, and I'm just using that little bit of language to take that service, which that could be anything. That could be the first-time real estate agent. That could be the first-time web designer, the first-time photographer, that assuming it goes as well as we both know it will, could I count on you for this instead of payment? Now we've got an asset that we can start to leverage to begin to spread that story of our entrepreneurial journey even greater, even stronger.
That's that future casting idea, isn't it?
Future pacing, though, I'll give you a small update on that, especially for this business community, which to let the muggles out there who don't know the terminology yet, whether it's future casting or future pacing, it's that aspect to use your language to then pace somebody into some sort of event that would be happening in the future, which using the words in the definition. So just imagine there you are, you're already on stage, and you can feel the confidence in your own voice. There's an example of future pacing. Let's apply this to a business perspective, though, with a concept that we can call product pacing, which is that instead of pacing you into the fact that you're going to buy the product, to ethically and respectfully use your language to pace somebody into what they're going to be doing once they're already your paying client. So maybe you have some sort of online educational program, and rather than selling the decision point as to whether I buy this, yes or no, instead, here's what I want you to do as soon as you log into the program. Go inside, watch the quick start video, and then immediately go into our private community and please introduce yourself and share with us your one biggest goal. That way we can support you in the year ahead, which is pacing, again, what they're going to be doing when they're inside of it. The same as if you're in a service-based business, that I'll give you my sort of disclaimer on this, is that I held back for years by doing this type of thing with my language, and then realizing that I could better serve my client if I spoke at their event, if I worked with them one-to-one, if they went through one of my training events. Therefore, based on the evidence I had of hundreds of testimonials and thousands of satisfied clients, it was ethically and my responsibility to use every appropriate technique to help them reach their goal. Where we're sometimes stuck in that decision phase, and just a little bit of a small respectful nudge that as soon as you sign up for the course, you're going to see that here's the directions to the office. I'm going to send you these materials, and you're going to get full access to the video library. They'll just watch a couple of these specific videos because that's all we need to get started. So by using our language to pace beyond the decision point, but again, only ever use your powers for good. Only ever do this when you know for a fact you can deliver the thing that you are promising.
Yep.
There's as much as, and this is the value of media in any business, I have a ton of information online. People can watch that TED Talk. They can see all sorts of other videos and programs that I've been a part of. And this is, again, a little bit of that assumptive language. That way you get to meet me before we even work together. And the benefit of that is that for those people that your specific product or service are going to be a match for, they are now rising to the top, and they are further becoming motivated to actually reach out and seek out your product or service. And likewise as well, that message is going to be respectfully pushing away the people that it's not really a match for yet. And the key word there is yet. I don't believe in the mindset of a yes or a no. Instead, it's a ready or a not yet ready in terms of the business. So it's the old line that anybody can sell something once. And that's probably the fastest way to get some sort of buyer's remorse. So by putting as much content marketing that I can put out there in terms of, here, listen to me on this program, get to interact with me within this video, read this book. They're getting that user experience in advance, the same way that you have a song you hear on the radio and you enjoy it. So what do? And people still buy albums. I've found that out recently. So you go to, you go to the local store and you buy a CD, blow the dust off of it, and and listen to it, or you download the digital version of it. But then suddenly, oh, they're on tour. I can go see that band, and you're picking up a conversation with them that you've already been having.
Yeah.
So to run our businesses in the same respect, which helps those people that it's a fit for naturally to make that decision. But of course, for those people that it's not a fit for, you are saving them time and energy, and even more importantly as well, money. That they're seeing, I'm looking for something else. And that's the value of that content marketing.
I wonder, is this something that doesn't seem to be a set forget type of thing? This seems to be something that you need to work on as an entrepreneur, which is our audience in small to medium-sized business owners, Jason. They need to have this commitment to personal development as well as understanding how to use hypnosis and NLP. How does it all come about for them?
Well, it comes about because back to that story of these two gentlemen, both retired looking to lose weight, that really to embrace that the word because could become the most dangerous word in your language, but it could also be the most inspiring. So here's where the worst business advice I ever received is probably what made me an instant success. I had just launched the local business, and part of the local community was telling me it's going to be slow your first year. It's hard without referrals and testimonials, and deciding that was every reason I was going to get out there and let my voice become known. So every bit of network marketing, every bit of giving live talks and demos and presentations, which that's what built the soft skills for me to then shoot a lot of video content. The same way that, of all things, a comedian will go out and just workshop material. And what you see on the tightly rehearsed HBO or Netflix special wasn't the first draft. They'd been on the road. They've been workshopping that. They've been testing it. And when it's ready, then the terminology is that they, quote, burn the material by then doing it on television. Because if you watch the 1 hour special on TV and then went to go see them live, you'd be disappointed if they did the exact same routine. So to bring that back to that personal development side of things, there's this aspect of finding out what works best for you. And I talk about rituals that would, especially when it comes to our own health, when it comes to our own balance of I've got a family, I've got a wife, I've got 2 kids, the dog, the cat, and I balance my day out in a very intentional way. So I appreciate the business, but I also appreciate the time to step away, to make that new entrance into all of it, to recognize that I noticed something that happened in my own personal life years ago. As much as I'm someone who helps people with habits and behaviors at times, I had developed a bit of an embarrassing habit. And it wasn't that I was behind the scenes a smoker or a drinker or relatively overweight. It was more that I kept hurting myself, and not in some dark way. No, I kept spraining my back because I was weak and I was clumsy, and I kept ending up on pain medications and muscle relaxers until finally it was a chiropractor who was just a friend who goes, "There's nothing wrong with your back. You're just weak. Get stronger and this will be a non-issue." And about the same time, I'm carrying, my son is now 5.5 years old. I'm carrying my newborn son up the stairs, and I have to sit down because I'm out of breath. And it's that point realizing, oh, I got to do something about this. And perhaps even religiously now, hitting the gym on a regular basis, focusing the nutrition, not for the goal of losing the extra weight, but how do I eat in a way that supplements the strength training that I'm now due to rehab a week back? And it's where over time, dropping a substantial amount of body fat, putting on some muscle along the way, it's by tracking it over the years, realizing, oh, wait, that's the same time frame that I tripled the size of my business. So there was this aspect of personal dedication. It was this aspect of especially, which your motivation, the audience's motivation may be different. What attached me to the strength training was that there was no finish line. There was no moment, and this came from a person who did a whole bunch of half marathons and just lost the interest when I found the strength work, to realize that because there was no finish line, it was the game of constantly leveling up like a video game, constantly doing just that little bit better, finding that little bit of refinement in terms of form and technique, finding that little bit of refinement in terms of the program that, okay, I see that I'm getting stronger when I do it this way. And that same dedication, that same drive translated over to the business, that I started to compartmentalize my business in such a way that when I am here and I am working, I am working. I am in that zone. I am focused. It's my whole work smart branding of working with intention, purpose, and focus. That with each and everything that we do, I'm not becoming the multitasker that I was, trying to do everything and doing most of it rather poorly. It's instead, I am in this specific mode. I am here with you right now. We are having this conversation. I'm on stage giving a presentation. That is the only thing that matters, just bringing even more of that intention, which it's where inspiration can come from any one of these different sources, which for those people in this audience, I mean, maybe here's someone who plays an instrument. What are the lessons? What are the learnings you can pull from that skill? Maybe here's something that you do with your kids. In my early days, I was trying to be much more formal in the delivery of my business. And the more I just turned on the camera and told stories and just talked to people rather than trying to present as the royal we can help you with this. No, you and I, as I stared down the barrel of the lens of the camera and talked to it, because it's you. It's just that one person that I'm talking to. It's where finding that personal development side of things really sharpen that edge. I mean, the health motivated that, getting into, of course, ongoing education. I'm always listening to something inspirational in my car, some bit of education. I've listened to your podcast a couple of times. That's why I reach out to you. So looking at what are those things that I can do to continuously level up that game.
Yeah, I love the fact that you've just turned on the camera and you've said, let's go for this. Was there any sort of perception of fear the first time you did? Because we know, I suspect 2019, as was 2018, is going to be a big year for video. For those who are, have online businesses or want to do that and get in front of a video camera, how do you suggest that they overcome any perception of fear they might have?
I could be a little too clever and say, hypnosis works for that and look out in your local area. But at the same time, embrace that it's a one-to-one conversation. The more that I work with people in terms of public speaking issues, and, so there's moments where I've given a presentation somewhere and I'm getting tapped in the shoulder and they're asking, when do you go home? Why? Because I can't do what you just did. And I'm asking, the hypnosis part? They go, no, the speaking part. And then we're suddenly off in some conference room working on that. You hate to play the game of it's always the same thing, but it's always the same thing. Because they always tell me, a conversation like this, I can sit one-to-one with anybody, whether it's a close friend or a business partner or some brand new associate or some opportunity. One-to-one is no challenge. It's when I'm in front of that big group of people, that's when I lock up. So the benefit of video, which we'll come to the video in a second, let's talk about talking to groups. The benefit of the group is that really don't look at us in an audience, a bit of a reframe. If it's 100 people, hey, if it's 1,000 people, it's 1,000 individuals. And they're people who perhaps have some of the same concerns, some of the same challenges that either you may be currently facing in your life or maybe have faced at some point before. It's that whole, we're all in this together, which sort of drops that guard that I have to get up there and be perfect. So as soon as we drop that expectation, listen to some of the people you think are phenomenal speakers, and sometimes they skip a word. They mispronounce something. They drop an every now and then. These are just human experiences. So in the video context, the fact that I'm talking to one person, I'm crafting in my mind, who is that ideal avatar? Who is that one person that needs to hear this message more than anyone else? And yes, hundreds, if not thousands of people are going to be watching that video in the first couple of days as it launches. Yet again, it's one-to-one is the mindset. So it takes perhaps just a little bit of that rapport training we started this conversation with to project that rapport on the camera lens. And yes, it is an inanimate object, but at the same time, communicate the same way that you'd be calling a friend and telling them something very important, just that little bit of a mental reframe. And it's where I tell a quick story that my parents are photographers and they own a rental property. And years ago, There's a moment where they had this, of course, with their other photography friends. Here came the professional video of the house to showcase the rental property, and that worked really well. And what happened instead was my father just took out the phone, the selfie camera, and just walked around and told stories of the house. And that property is now booked up several months in advance. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars, maybe even more over the years, immersing myself in information marketing. What are the top people in business doing? And I'm comfortable now saying the more money I've spent with somebody, the more likely they're just telling me to shoot videos and tell stories. And it's that thing that, to draw the most random of correlation, magicians have a premise that they call the too perfect theory. That if the magic trick was too perfect, if you were holding a yellow ball in your hand and you just stared at it and that thing suddenly went from yellow to red, that would almost be a miracle. But it was too perfect of a trick because you'd be thinking, well, wait, was it actually yellow at the beginning? And somehow, even though this doesn't sound as magical, if you closed your hand around the ball and you squeezed it, and when you opened it up, now it was red, it may not be the most visually stunning magic trick, yet it's more believable as a magic trick because it's not too perfect. And I bring that up in this context because the more perfect we try to make that video, it's not going to be perfect. So again, just to be there, to be human, to have that moment to just be vulnerable, to laugh at yourself, to call out something in a funny way, to bring your own unique style, your own unique delivery of something into that video, that's what really I found gets the best reaction. Let me throw in one more point on that too, which would be that with video, recognize it's a muscle. The more you do it, the better you get at it. And there's a video that I shot today, actually, that was only a 2-minute video. And the real message to say, if someone were to find this video, you only saw the last take. You didn't see the moments where I flubbed up the words, went, nope, that's not it. Turn the camera off, turn the camera back on. And it took me 20 minutes to shoot the 2-minute video. So it's a muscle. And depending on the shape of your business, I mean, I have videos of myself that are sitting on YouTube on various channels that date back upwards to, 6-7 years ago and 40 pounds heavier. And instead to go, oh, I need to take those down and redo them, it's where I've received some of the best feedback from people saying, I can see the progression. I can see that you're doing it differently. The other statement too is that we talked about NLP. Part of NLP is modeling. So it doesn't mean to directly mimic or copy somebody, though I'm in my head channeling Steve Jobs if I'm doing a sales presentation and I'm pivoting from education to now, here's the product I'm offering. Mm-hmm. The moment where he'd go, but one more thing. So rather than going, and now I'm going to sell it to you, just one more thing, he would share the one aspect he was the most excited about. And the audience would join in that excitement. Or to look at, of all things, there's a style of how I set up my camera, which I believe is another Australian, Craig Ferguson, that when Craig was doing the Late Show that now in the U.S. is James Corden, the camera was at an angle so he could walk further away and then walk close to the camera and his head would stay in the same level plane. The camera's up at an angle down. And he was one of the first Late Show hosts that was playing to the audience at home through the camera, and the audience was secondary. And I saw just the angle of that and went, ooh, I like that. And unless I ever detailed that, even if people watch the video of Craig Ferguson, to me, very different delivery, very different medium, yet that style of delivery of just the angle of the shot and the playfulness to the camera, that's where I modeled that from. And then, of course, made it my own. So surround yourself with good information, model what fits for you, make it your own along the way. And again, it gets better the more you do it.
Now, I know that there is just so much that you can share with our audience, but I know that also in January you have a book coming out. Would you mind sharing a little bit about that with us?
Absolutely. So the mission statement is, again, if I could do these things in a profession where I have to convince some people that I'm not going to do weird stuff to them, as lovely as that sounds, to embrace the fact that, the journey of your audience in terms of whether it's a startup or a scale-up phase of their business, by having the right mindsets, the principles, as well as the strategies to make it happen, I want to take this message to a much larger global audience and hear of people creating their own success stories along the way. Mm-hmm. So Work Smart Business is coming out on January 27th. The subtitle is Lessons Learned from Hypnotizing 250,000 People and Building a $1 Million Brand. So it's inside of there. It's the entire narrative of what I've done with my business, but at the same time, not just telling you the story of look how awesome I think I am, but giving you the specific strategies to leverage your own assets, to adopt the mindset, as I nickname it, of printing money. Where do you look for opportunities that there's audiences that people are not yet talking to? And there's ways you can adapt your product or your service to better fit their needs, getting into specific strategies, some of them hypnotic in nature, some in terms of ethical influence. There's a whole strategy that I teach in there about how to consistently get feedback from your clients. This is a big issue that businesses really need to address, that they've done great work, yet they haven't yet appropriately converted their clients into raving fans. They're happy off on their own. There's a small little adjustment, and here's the real hypnotic statement, that when your client is telling their own success story, yes, it's benefiting you, but just as well, it's enhancing the fact that one, they made the right decision, and two, they own their own result as a result of that. So the book is launching on Sunday, January 27th, which I'd share with this audience. We made a special page for this. If you go to worksmartbusiness.com/future, as in future business. So /future, you can actually sign up for the pre-launch list, which you're going to immediately get the opening chapter of the book, one of the hypnotic language patterns you can start to experiment with in your own personal life and business right away. Please use your powers for good. And in addition to that, you're going to get all the details when it officially launches to get a free digital copy on that launch weekend. So again, the website is worksmartbusiness.com/future. That's how you can get those things. And also I'll send over the TED Talk there to those folks too.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that with our audience and whoever is on the call with us today. This has just been an amazing opportunity for you to get your hands on that particular book and apply it to your own existence, your life, your business, however you choose to use it. Now, Jason, where else can people find you? Can they find you at jasonlinettt.com?
After January 27th, still head over to worksmartbusiness.com. That'll direct you over to Amazon to get a copy of the book. To find me directly, head over to jasonlinettt.com, which and also I'm on every social media platform also as Jason Linettt. Luckily, there's apparently only one of me.
Jason, it's been a wonderful treat having you spend some time with me on the My Future Business show today.
Hey, it's been awesome being here as well.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.